You are listening to Wicked Psychotherapists, a podcast where two psychotherapists show you that taking care of and learning about mental health doesn't have to be wicked hot.
Hey everybody, it's Tanya.
Hi, it's Erin. Welcome to Wicked Psychotherapists.
Yes, you're welcome. So at this time, we're closing in on the holidays, Christmas time. We thought it would be fun to talk about a classic. Well, at least a classic for our time. It's not super old, early 2000s. Do we want to talk about Elf? This is a favorite for a lot of people.
I was going to say, actually, it's new for us since we're always stuck in 1980 and 1990s.
Launched us forward, yes. I think it came out 2003. Elf is a really popular holiday movie. If you're watching this, we're going to be all in it. So we're going to assume that you've watched this or that you want to know about it. We were talking beforehand that we watched this during the holidays. Erin, you watch it a couple times a year. Is that right?
Yeah, I know. I always watch it Christmas Eve and then another time or two in December. It's a staple.
It is a nice staple. I think it's become that for a lot of people. It's very endearing and cozy. There's a lot of Christmas scenes, a lot of like magical parts of Christmas. I am just wondering because this is one of my favorites. I wouldn't say it's my top, but it is something that puts me in the spirit. What do you think makes this such a classic and a favorite for everyone?
I think it hits all the points. Like it could be a kid movie, so it's fun and whimsical. There's romantic relationships. There's father-son relationships. There's just different aspects, like starting fresh in a new big city. You know, to be corny, I think it's like a family movie because everyone can find something they relate to or find comfort in. And it's funny.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's lighthearted for the most part. It's pretty lighthearted. I think there's a lot of great visuals in there. When I think of Elf, I always think of that scene where he's on the ice floe floating away to New York, and this little
the narwhal
pops up and is like, "Hey, buddy."
Hi,
It's Finnish, but also very fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the setting in the North Pole. It's great. I feel like nobody else could have played Elf other than Will Ferrell. He's that perfect ingredient of wacky, funny, and also stays in character so well.
Mm-hmm. And he's not too over the top. It makes it almost believable that he's like doesn't realize that he is a million times bigger than Papa Elf. And it's like just shocking when he hears the other elves like gossiping about him. Like just like, wait a minute, I'm different.
Yeah. That also leads to a really important point, which stems into our mental health themes, because that's always kind of our angle. But the understanding of Buddy is human, and we can all see that. And the elves know it, that he was raised by. He just feels so loved and accepted that he's like, okay, that's just me. It's only at a certain point that he starts to realize, wait, I'm different. I don't make toys as much, or as quick as the elves or as the rest of, everyone else. And he was just so shocked when he overheard them saying like, oh man, he's slowing us down, but he can change a light bulb or whatever reasons.
Yeah. If we need the fire alarm tested or something, let's get Buddy.
Yeah. You can see they want him to feel like he's important and has a role and has a job, but it's kind of tough in that environment. And so I think that's a really important acceptance in your family and understanding that you may be different from the rest of your family or the people that you're around, but you're still accepted, you're still loved and cared for. It's almost like that moment that Buddy realizes, oh my gosh, I'm not like these other people around me. I wasn't born to them, but I still found a lot of love and acceptance there. That really speaks to how much they gave him.
When Santa and Papa Elf explain it to him, this is what happened to your mom, or this is who your parents were. Papa Elf always wanted a son. Santa knew his little elves too, like what they wanted, who they were. And, he knew that Buddy would be in good hands.
Yeah. And he definitely was. It seems like he had a really nice upbringing, but it was just kind of that identity crisis of like, I really am different. Like people were just saying it's because I'm taller or, and they would build him a special desk and he'd always be so tall in the shower and the bed that he grew by 20 feet or
whatever. Little tiny bar of soap.
Yeah, it really does speak to how loved and accepted he was because he didn't, even though there's very drastic differences between him and everyone else he's surrounded by. He didn't notice that until a certain point. And then he kind of has this awareness of, I need to find out who my biological parents are. I need to do this. He's got to find what he feels like is maybe a part of his identity.
Yeah.
And so he ventures off. He's very persistent, I think, in finding his, he's got to go through the North Pole and walk all the way to New York.
It's a long walk. Yeah.
Floats over there and he comes to New York, which I love the scenes in New York. I think it's so fun just to kind of see. And it really grossed me out when he started eating the gum. Like he saw it and he was just so excited because probably everything at the North Pole is edible and has candy.
Yeah.
And he's just like used to having that
Yeah,
around.
but Santa told him don't eat
starts
it.
chewing.
Said don't eat anything on the floor or ground or anything like that.
Grosses me
But-
out. I just had a visceral reaction to that. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of themes, I think, and then he goes and meets his biological dad. His dad is kind of shocked. His dad is also kind of cold and reserved and distant. He's got a job that's very much kind of like corporate, like has to do with like publishing books kind of thing. And he doesn't seem very accepting of Buddy. And he didn't know that he was even there. It was like some old college girlfriend and he didn't know that he existed.
Well, also Buddy comes in his big outfit, like his, into like this very boring office place, like where it's like, all right, who's this idiot that is coming into
like
my
Candygram, or the secretary thinks it's like a Candygram, like a singer or something. Yeah. He's like, and I love you, and you're my dad. It's just he like goes ahead and tries to sing and be the Candygram anyways.
It's like, all right, I got it. Yeah.
And then he realizes, okay, oh wait, and Buddy tells him, like, I'm your son, and shows him like, or says the name, and he's like, oh, and it all kind of clicks. But yeah, it's really interesting, I think, when he realizes who he is and he brings him home. I mean, at first he kind of has him kicked out and arrested because he thinks he's just like a lunatic.
Which most people would. Like,
I mean, he's dressed like an elf.
I think I'd probably have someone arrested if they just showed up like that. Like, what the heck?
That's super creepy. That's a good point. I think as I've gotten older, I don't think I realized how creepy that was. Like, I was like, oh yeah, that's weird, haha. But I'm like, no, that's really weird.
Yeah, it's like, who's this stalker that's all of a sudden saying I'm related to them and they're dressed in this elf costume and they won't leave
and they're acting kind of like a child and like really excited over like candy and hugs.
Yeah.
And stuff.
What drugs are they on?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem real. But finally he realizes, oh, okay, this is actually my son after a very suspiciously quick paternity test. And did you notice that in the doctor's office?
Well, like maybe Maury Povich was there.
Oh, yeah. He got up the results.
You are the father.
Oh, man, you might not get that if you're not from our era, but just look it up. We can't even explain that to you.
That was Maury Povich's full job, like just trying to find paternity.
That was his deal and his announcement. Yeah, that voice, you can hear it so clearly, like him saying that, announcing that. But what did you think when he first actually accepts that, okay, well, after the paternity test and a few arrests and whatever, but after he accepts that, okay, Buddy's my son, and the wife is, he tells his wife, his current wife, who he has a son with, and the wife seems very nice and understanding, compassionate, caring, and is like, you have to bring him home. He's your son, and he kind of needs some convincing towards that. And then when he comes home, what did you think that it was the wife that had to convince him?
Well, the wife is complete opposite of him. She's very kind and caring, and he probably is too, but just in a different way. But she just seemed very nurturing. It was like, look, we already have one son. What's another one? Well, of course I want to meet your family.
Yeah.
Bring him here. It wasn't even a hesitation. And she just seemed very open and welcoming. And the son also was like, yeah, I want to meet my brother. Who is this person?
I love the way they were the mother and the son, the way they were so accepting of Buddy. And like, he kind of, he's got some ways that are not typical, and he likes to eat, spaghetti with maple syrup at all times during the day.
So gross.
Yeah. And like, he's very excited about seeing a dog and petting a dog, and he doesn't really know how to function as an adult in New York, right? Only in the North Pole as an elf and maker of toys. So he's excited by all these new things. He just loves his dad because that's his dad in his mind, but the dad is kind of cold and distant, and you kind of get the sense that maybe he wasn't like that at one point, but maybe as he's grown older, things that have happened in his life, he's kind of become aloof and not very
Right.
affectionate, even with his wife and son, really. Like the son kind of gets a little bit upset that he's treating Buddy a particular way and is like, you're never around, you're always at work and you don't care.
Mhm. You're now noticing the shiny thing, this new thing.
Yeah. And also, like, he saw in his brother the way he probably has felt for a while. Like, you don't really pay
Yeah.
attention to him when
Mhm.
work is number one. I think he even like mimics his dad at some point when he's like kind of referring to him. He's like, oh, he needs to go to work kind of thing. Like, that's his
Yeah.
primary. That's kind of the
Yeah.
understanding of him.
The top priority, family second.
Yeah. So there's that dynamic that he's kind of walking into. And Buddy just has no awareness of this because this is not the
Mhm.
world he's lived in. He's just always been loved
Right.
and accepted, even though he's looked very different from everyone else around him. And here, this is his biological dad, biological half brother. And the brother accepts him. The mom, who's like his stepmom,
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
very accepting. And they love that he builds things. The father is just kind of cold, maybe beaten down by life. And he can't really accept that Buddy is different.
Yeah. He wants him to wear the suit and look like him, dress like him, just not express himself as the elf or whatever he is. Or even have that excitement of all the newness, because that also seemed to be really annoying for the dad, is all the excitement that Buddy was showing of, oh my gosh, I've never seen this. They're just so exciting for him because it's new. It's the first time seeing it, first time experiencing it.
Yeah. And that's a good point. When you're talking about like he wants him to be kind of like him, like in a suit and like work and to just be quote unquote normal. I almost wonder if there's a tie there between, parent-child relationships, maybe father-son, I don't know, whatever it is, and kind of acceptance of who maybe their child is, and kind of saying,
Mhm.
okay, they're not going to be like me. Instead, they are, maybe going on a different path. They're excited by things. They're more creative. They're more spontaneous. They love people as opposed to like
Right.
kind of being reserved and, businesslike. And I kind of wonder if that's almost a mini theme in there. I know it's kind of a stretch, but it might be kind of somebody might look at that
Yeah.
as like acceptance of your child, right? And how they are.
Yeah. And how many times do we see that, like in different themes, like as therapists or even in our own lives, where family members parents or, adults, whoever it was, like there might be a push in the relationship because you're not following exactly how they were or the expectations that they laid on you, or that they were like, nope, this is what you should look like. These are the hobbies you should have. This is everything that I like. So you should like it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that there really is a lot of that throughout the movie. The father just seems to be kind of at odds with Buddy and his other son. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't know.
The younger son that he has with his current wife. They're always kind of seeing and accepting Buddy, and it feels like the father's kind of pushing him away even more. And then there's kind of the point where it kind of turns around and he realizes that he needs to try and make this relationship work with Buddy. I
Mhm.
think when the younger son comes into the boardroom and says like, Dad, Buddy's left, and I'm worried about him, kind of, you need to come find him. And the boss yells at his son and he's like, don't talk to my son that way. He's
Yeah.
kind of been not feeling this place for a little bit, when he's like, I quit. And it's kind of like he goes against the grain. He's okay. I got to put family first sort of thing.
Yeah.
I guess he saw it in the younger son, kind of the way he was like, you always put work before everybody. And Buddy is so nice and puts everybody ahead of
Puts
himself.
everybody in front, and he wants everyone to be happy, and he wants everyone to experience family and Christmas.
Yeah. I wonder if that's kind of why the father gets very frustrated by him, because I think there's this reality in front of him that it's like almost like a mirror that's being held up. Like, you're so not a people person, you're grouchy, you kind of keep to yourself, you're so focused on yourself and your work. And Buddy was just a constant kind of opposite to that, showing him what he wasn't. So maybe that really kind of annoyed him.
Yeah.
I think like, in group dynamics, we see that a lot too. I have clients who will come in and say like, oh, a coworker does this or a friend does that, and like this frustrates me, or they get frustrated by me.
Or it could also be something too that the dad had and yearned to have again. And maybe he saw that in Buddy because, you see the picture of him and his Buddy's mom. They look so happy and relaxed, and like he was probably very chill. And he chose a his current wife is very sweet and calm and go with the flow type of thing. So there must be something in him that attracts that type of partner.
Yeah, like
And
he wants
maybe
that in his,
yeah,
but he maybe can't produce it himself, so he kind of surrounds himself with it. And I think Buddy was just such a stark reminder of like the contrast and yeah, what he had probably lost because he looked very carefree in that picture. He looked very,
mhm,
like he's
playing the guitar. That's
yeah,
just
at college. It was just kind of the hippie days. But yeah, so I think there's so much in family dynamics, group dynamics that can come out of that we see and hear a lot about, and kind of like people who project things because they can't handle it themselves, or maybe they miss that they don't have that anymore. And so they take it out on somebody who does, who maybe is just kind of enjoying themselves. So that definitely is something we either hear about or, probably know about in our own lives. I
yeah.
think that's a part of a lot of interactions, or it can be the interactions with getting along with people. And another point that I thought was really interesting, and this is something I did read, and I forget where I read it, but it was somewhere in an article that said the possibility of Buddy's always like, kind of so excited, and he's like, it's my favorite thing. I love it.
Yeah,
It's my
shiny
favorite thing
dad.
ever. But he is, always believing in Santa because he grew up with Santa, right? And he knows that, and that's just a part of his life, and he doesn't even question it. That's just his full belief. And when people are not believing that Santa is real, or if he feels like, when he goes to New York, there's not a lot of Christmas spirit, and the father's very much like Santa's not real, it's that it may be kind of an equivalent to maybe a mental health theme, or maybe a recognition of other, kind of defining characteristics of your child, right? And saying like, if I can't see it, I don't believe it kind of thing. And so I wonder if there's kind of a crossover in that. Again, just kind of a theory, not something that's blatantly pointed out. I mean, I think we both like it for the family.
Yeah, we don't
It's
like
a
it
nice light movie.
because if he has, whether has mental health disorder, ADHD or something, or
it's a definite.
or he's the reason why kids should not, or adults should not eat 20 pounds of sugar a day.
Yes,
Probably not good
that's
for
a
your
good
physical
point.
or mental health.
Yeah. It's funny though, he doesn't seem to have like the sugar crash. He just kind of,
Well, because he just keeps going. He has it.
but at some point it would seem like it would crash. It's really weird.
Yeah. Tanya's going into the medical aspect of
Speaking
why
really.
Buddy. Let's worry about Buddy's blood sugar.
Yeah. No, it's and we're, we always kind of pick at the mental health theme, so that's why we're talking about it. But really, this is just, a great movie that if you really look at it, there are a lot of mental health ties.
Yeah.
So
There's relationship.
yeah, and the acceptance, identity, family interaction. And there's also an important part is the interaction he has with Jovi, right? Is that her name? Yeah, Jovi.
Well, you know me, I can never remember
Zoe.
names. Yeah, Zoe Deschanel or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, she
We're
has
the
an
worst at
amazing
names.
voice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, so I think his relationship, he meets Jovi and she's you're a weirdo, you're trying to hit on me, you're just putting on an act. And then she kind of realizes he's earnest. I think she also feels a little bit like an outsider. And so I think they kind of relate on that, and she just loves who he is as a person, and he sees her and appreciates that. I think that also speaks to the fact that he was so, he was brought up just accepting people and welcoming them. I think Jovi never really seemed to have that with other people. She seemed a little lonely, a little on the outside. We don't get too much into her life, but
yeah, she kind of, it seemed like she kind of pushed people away and wanted to isolate a little bit or be invisible.
Yeah.
Elf, the character, was anything but invisible or subtle. So it's like, hello, he's here. And then if she's standing next to him, then people are noticing her. And it's a little different
around in all forms. Yeah, you can't get away from him. Yeah, so she kind of became more visible with him because he's himself. He doesn't have any kind of social filters built in because he's just not from this world, which maybe there's a little bit of kind of, some people may interpret, that as, maybe possibly being on the spectrum. Yeah. Socially. And I know we're not diagnosing, we're just kind of trying to put in some stuff here, to kind of be like, maybe that's another way of understanding it, that has mental health themes. But he's quite literally from another world. But I've had clients who are on the spectrum who've said they feel that way, that's
Yeah.
kind of how they see the world. Obviously, not everyone. So, yeah, there's a lot of different things, I think, in this movie that maybe, if looked at with a mental health lens, you can see a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, you
if you just
definitely
sit
can.
down and watch it and enjoy it.
And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do. I sit and enjoy it and like it. And it just kind of popped in my head.
Yeah. I mean, because you could analyze Buddy and figure out like why does he act how he does. It could be his childhood, his abandonment issues. He had to create this different persona. Like, who knows why he's so over the top and just ridiculous? Because even in the North Pole, he's a little extra. All the other elves are not like as out of control as he is.
Yeah, he's different, but like in a way that we see how
Sweet.
the mother and the son can appreciate him, and of course, the father comes around to it at the end, but it takes him some time, probably because maybe that's another thing is the father couldn't really accept himself the way that he was, so he couldn't accept Buddy. Yeah, overall, it's just a great movie. It's really, I think, something that a lot of people turn to for their Christmas movies. I do know some people, though, that are like, they don't like Elf. Not really because of the movie itself, but maybe because Will Ferrell is in it. They're not Will.
Yes. If you just know Will Ferrell from like Step Brothers or other stupid stuff, it's like he's an idiot. But it's just, I mean, they're funny. But it's just like, 'cause some people don't like Adam Sandler. Who are those people? But, there's just some people just don't like that type of humor. I used to not be a huge Will Ferrell fan, but then I think I watched other stuff because I was on the Adam Sandler train. I liked him. But then I watched Elf and I was like, oh my gosh, he is hysterical. And then it made me want to start watching some of the other movies that I was like, I don't want to watch it. But then I was like, okay, I get his humor. He's really funny.
He's unique, I think, in his in and of himself, the actor Will Ferrell. So I think it really shows through in Buddy the Elf. But yeah, his humor has a wide spectrum, I would say, but it's like also at the same time very much kind of like niche. I don't know. I remember him from Saturday Night Live, and I didn't like him. He seemed really truly angry. Like I just was like, I don't get it. Like I just didn't get it. And then I think I started liking him in like Step Brothers. I was like, oh, he's actually kind of funny. This is like stupid funny.
Yeah,
okay.
Step Brothers was Step Brothers.
And then I was like, I get it. I wasn't a big fan of Anchorman. I wasn't into that. I don't know.
I didn't like that one either. It was just,
I didn't understand. It just seemed like so hyped up. When I watched it, I was like, okay.
Maybe I just need stupid for my comedy. I don't know.
It's different because he's kind of all over the place. Like he is kind of lowbrow and that, but he's also very acts very sophisticated. I don't know. He's a different one. So I think that really depends. Like there are some people that are just like, I will not watch that movie. And I just think, wow, they're missing out on something really great, because maybe they might end up liking
especially because it's not just him. I mean, the cast is really good. It's funny. Some people have different movies that they choose to watch at Christmas time. Or maybe they just do like the Hallmark movies or something. Like I know we've talked about that before. Some people just like to do that. They might not want to watch a certain Christmas movie, the same one every year.
Yeah. Yeah, some people don't like Christmas movies. And some people don't celebrate Christmas, but it just may not be your thing. There's also, so many other types of Christmas movies. It just kind of depends. I feel like I've definitely changed my tastes over time. Like I don't really remember what I watched as a kid. Probably like whatever was on TV, like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and like the Rudolph thing, like cartoon or whatever.
I always liked Rudolph was good, but I always felt, I don't know, Santa was a big jerk in Rudolph. But I really liked Frosty. I liked Rudolph, but I don't know, because those are all we had. Yeah, but I really loved Frosty. And I used to I think I told you, I used to like the Christmas Story, but then the past, I don't know, several years, I was like, I don't want to watch it. It's just so negative. It feels it's good, but then something about it's just not as, I guess it's not as positive as Elf to me. I feel like Elf the whole movie just feels like, there's some parts where you're like, oh, poor Buddy, or you feel bad for different characters, but overall, it makes you feel good.
I was never into the Christmas Story. It wasn't like, I don't know what it is, not positive or negative. I just never really liked it. It's just kind of annoying.
Yeah.
I think as I got older, I liked Bad Santa because it was just like so anti-Christmas, or like kind of anti like Santa, like the things. And I like the Hallmark movies, and now I'm kind of, I would say my favorite is like National Lampoons. I really do like Elf, but like it's probably not my.
Yeah.
It's just kind of it's
Yeah,
a staple. It's always there.
I really like the Santa Clauses. Like,
Yeah,
I like
those are
Tim
good, yeah.
Allen. Yeah, I've watched all of them, and I like the show. They have a Santa Claus show too, which is really good. It has Tim Allen in it,
Oh, really?
and I
I
highly
didn't know
recommend.
that.
Yeah, it's really good. I think it's supposed to be after all the Santa Claus movies, and then I think there's a newer Santa Claus movie. I think there's like 3 or 4 Santa Claus movies now, and the show that's pretty good. So
That's
that
interesting.
that's a real. I really like that one. But yeah, I try to watch all the Christmas movies. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not a big.
everything's
I
favorite.
don't think I've ever seen National Lampoon or because I watched the show, like the movie, like National Lampoon's, like the regular. I was like, ugh, I don't know, Chevy Chase
Oh
is
yeah,
just
the vacation
annoying
one.
to me.
Yeah.
But I don't think I ever watched the Christmas one because of Chevy Chase.
See, and that's interesting. Like with Will Ferrell, some people won't watch.
Yeah.
Like, but I totally get the Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like it. Kind of depends. It's hit or miss with him, but.
Mhm.
Yeah, Chevy Chase is. I think he was known to be not so friendly on sets, and it kind of comes
Yeah.
through a lot.
Yeah, you can kind of sense his arrogance or something about it.
Yeah, there's something there. Yeah, and so I kind of wanted to ask in the age of sequels, did you ever see
Yeah.
a sequel for Elf? They have a musical, yeah, and they have like, plays, of Elf and everything. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering, like, do you think there could ever be a second Elf? I mean, there's nothing I've ever heard about this. I'm just wondering purely for curiosity.
I guess it would be like Elf having a 9 to 5 job, but he just kind of like, what would they, with their kids, and then they'd still, I don't know. I don't think they can because everyone's dead, right? Like all the
Bob Newhart
dad-
is the dad.
Bob Newhart is, and gosh, the person who played his dad is dead too.
Yeah, so I was just thinking how at the end they see visiting the South Pole and they have kids, Jovi and
Yeah, I guess they could, or maybe they decide to move there, and Santa thinks he's so great, and he takes over.
yeah. I mean, they can get creative about it. I don't know.
No, maybe the second generation.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm looking for it or that I would even be like so
No,
interested,
but,
but I do like
what
to
happens
watch
when
things that have sequels. Like I'll give it a
Buddy the Elf gets old? Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is definitely a part of our tradition around Christmas. I wouldn't say I like absolutely make sure, but I definitely always have it like kind of playing the background if I'm, decorating the tree kind of thing.
Yeah. You know what else
Just
I was
nice.
thinking? I was thinking of another Christmas thing that I feel like Wizard of Oz used to always be on around Christmas time, like growing up.
Probably was. Yeah.
I think it
don't
was
remember,
always
but it
on
probably
TV.
was.
Just random 1980s memory.
Yeah,
for
probably
me.
was.
I would recommend Elf.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's good to incorporate into your Christmas traditions, and kind of, if that's your thing, if you are very anti-Will Ferrell, we're here to say, give it a shot. If you find it's too much, well, okay, it's just not your thing, but this may be different because he's different.
We like to support here at Wicked Psychotherapists. We like to support the underdogs or the people that people might not always like Nicolas Cage, Will Ferrell. We're here for that. We will always support
For
those
sure.
type of
Yeah.
actors.
Yeah. Those people, I mean, like, yeah, it really is divided in that. Like, there are camps that really hate them and really love them. It's really pretty divided with them. So we're both in the fan base, I would say, for both.
Definitely. As our Moonstruck episode has proven, and as this episode has proven for Will Ferrell.
For sure. Yeah, so we wonder, what are your Christmas traditions? Is Elf a part of it? Are there other things that you look at? Tell us why you Will Ferrell or why you don't. We love to hear from
Send us a message on like our fan mail, or send us on Instagram or anything.
We're on Facebook, Instagram, at Wicked Psychotherapists or Wicked Psychotherapists. Leave us a review. It helps a lot. Or just write us something. Let us know, if you want to listen to something. We're always open to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Definitely.
All right. So, and don't forget, stay wicked.
And keep your mind well. All right. Well, have a good week. Bye-bye.
Hey, guys. See you next week.